What's up, friend? Welcome back to my channel. Hi if you're new here, hi if you're not. Welcome back to another episode of Danielle Does Her Makeup while she talks about random stuff that she sees on the internet. Today we're going to be reacting to some scammy coaches saying some problematic things over on Instagram, over on TikTok, wherever on the internet I could find these videos. And before the men inevitably come out in my comments and tell me that it's inappropriate for me to be doing my makeup on camera, please just swipe away. Don't watch this video. Give it a thumbs down and I'll see you later, okay? Shout out to my channel VIP members. Before we get started, thank you so much for being here. If you're interested in joining about my membership, click the join button down below. Give this video a thumbs up. It's free. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already. Let's go ahead and jump right in. Okay, so the first video we have today was sent by a friend of mine who I know in real life, meaning I know the friend in real life. I don't know who this person is, but I have included this individual in previous videos. And when she sent me this video in particular, I was like, you know what? We're going to put her in another video. Again, nothing I share in these videos is about the people. It's about the things that they're saying and how this same story, same narrative, same rhetoric is repeated over and over and over again. Copy paste from coach to coach to coach.
The thing is, you are meant to be very successful if you're seeing this video. Do you want to know what some of the habits I've noticed to be consistent among all the successful people that I meet? Every successful person gets shit done. And what I mean by this is not that they work hard per se, but it's that when a thought comes into their head, they go and do it right then and there. If they have a business idea, they pick up a book and make it happen. They go and start planning the program. The difference between people who are intelligent and people who are successful is that intelligent people acquire knowledge, but successful people actually use it. Successful people invest in themselves. They realize that their success is directly correlated to how they feel internally. Their external world is a reflection of themselves. Successful people remain in successful circles. They start to cut people out really quick in their lives who are draining them and dragging them down, and that includes family. Successful people aren't afraid to take risks, be in uncomfortable situations, because that's where the success comes from. When everyone else is out here waiting, successful people have already made the trek.
Okay, so there's a few things I want to unpack here. The first point being that, okay, I don't think she's inherently wrong. Success does come from deciding you want to do something and then actually showing up and doing it. Okay, I'm not going to dispute that fact. However, the way it gets often manipulated, specifically in the coaching space, is this just jump right in, don't really think about it, and just get started. And it's kind of a tactic that they use to get you to sign up, usually, for their programs right away. So if you missed this interview right here, this individual actually shares her story, essentially of that, where she was on a sales call, she was kind of, loafing around being like, should I do it? Shouldn't I do it? And the coach basically pressured her into signing up right away, being like, you can't have any time to think about it. And so I think this narrative of do it right away as soon as you have the idea maybe could potentially be tied into that sales tactic. Again, just my speculation. And now there's two other important pieces I think that we should address here. Obviously, the point about investing in yourself. I've talked about this over and over again. I'm not going to be a broken record in this video, but I think that this narrative is, again, just a tactic that they use to get you to buy into their programs. Successful people invest in themselves. Yes, there is a level of investment required in starting a business, but you don't need to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on a mentor just to be successful. And then the last piece I think that's important to touch on in this video is the point about cutting out all the people that don't believe in what you're doing. Essentially, this narrative is basically, in my opinion, encouraging you to enter into an echo chamber where everyone you surround yourself with is doing the same thing, is saying the same things, and is believing the same things. And so not allowing your opportunity to have that constructive feedback can be incredibly dangerous, especially in this space, because you just essentially end up further and further indoctrinated into the coaching world that you don't really realize what you're doing could be harmful or could be problematic because there's no one there to challenge or question whatever it is you're doing. And honestly, that's why I love platforms like YouTube, because obviously I have a very one-sided perspective based on my experience. And oftentimes there are people in the comments who will offer alternative perspectives and thoughts that I might not have thought of because I am on one side of the argument, right? And so it's so important to allow yourself the opportunity to not necessarily be friends with everyone and to look to everyone for feedback, but to allow yourself that opportunity to get feedback from people who might have an alternative perspective to whatever it is you're thinking. Now, as I was getting ready for this video, I found another video from the same creator. And normally I wouldn't do two videos of the same person in the same video because, again, it's not about the same people. But I just thought this one was so funny because it's like they're just on the cusp of understanding reality reality, but they're not quite there yet. So let's go ahead and watch this video.
Okay, am I the only one who's noticed that all these business coaches Their only business is business coaching. I don't see a lot of business coaches who own and operate a business outside of that. I'm a business coach, but my main primary business is my mindset coaching business, which makes me multiple six figures a year. Just like, I want to see more coaches talk about their businesses outside of business coaching. I hear a lot of business coaches being like, we made X amount of dollars off of selling business coaching stuff, but I want to see the proof of concept. I want to see it work in other industries too. Like, personally, I'm not going to tell you guys anything that hasn't worked in my mindset coaching business. I don't know. I just want to see more business coaches talk about businesses outside of business coaching. Do you guys feel me?
Okay, so just for a little bit more context, I guess, this individual identifies as a coach that helps coaches with their mindset. So in my opinion, to me, there isn't really a difference between the business coaches who only experience owning a business is like coaching other coaches or having a coaching business, and someone saying that they're a mindset coach for coaches, because you're still part of this coaches coaching coaches to coach coaches. You don't really have actual business experience at the end of the day. Because yes, while you identify as a mindset coach versus a business coach, you're still perpetuating the same scheme. Is that making sense? I don't know. When I watched this video, I was like, girl, you are so close to understanding that business coaches whose only experience is being a business coach isn't real business experience. But then you're like, but my experience as a mindset coach is totally different, when in reality, it's not. It's the same thing. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this in the comments below. Okay, so for those of you that are just listening to this one, basically on the screen, it says, thinking about all the money you're leaving on the table because you're making these common mistakes. So then she goes into the caption. Here, if you're a coach or an online service provider, you are legitimately leaving money on the table if you're doing even one of these things. By the way, nobody's perfect, so this is coming from someone who is not 100% consistent with executing every single one of these things. But they're all part of my business model, system, strategies in some way. And of course, I help clients install and execute all of these concepts into their businesses with getting results, but we don't tackle it all at once. I digress. Let's take a look at where you might be leaving money on the table, shall we? So number one, you don't incentivize people to commit to at least a 9 to 12 month program with you. Oh my God, 9 to 12 months. This person is saying that the reason why you're not successful in your business is because you're not getting clients to sign on for 9 to 12 months. This might be a controversial opinion, but as someone who is a service provider and has been a service provider for quite some time, I don't think it makes sense to necessarily always sign clients on for a long-term contract. I understand the financial benefit, because if you have a long-term contract, then that means your income is secured for that period of time. And in certain industries, it would make sense. But oftentimes, we don't necessarily need the same level of support for a consistent period of time, if that makes sense. So for a little bit of context, in my business, I typically only work with people on a 4 to 8 week basis. So basically, you have the option to work with me for 4, 6, or 8 weeks, because typically 1 month is enough time to really figure out a specific problem and then work together to formulate a solution. Sometimes we need a little bit longer in order to maybe work on multiple problems at once. Now, I'm not saying we get to the end of the 8 weeks and a client wants to re-sign with me. Great, that's fine. But to force them to right off the bat sign up on a 9 to 12 month basis just doesn't make sense to me, because so much can change in the period of 6 months, 3 months even. It doesn't really make sense to know that you're going to need a certain level of support for that amount of time. And I think it's really only in the coaching industry where we see this, like,
you have to sign up right away and commit to working with me for the next year.
When the reality is, in literally no other profession would you really see that. I don't know. It just seems kind of odd to me. Okay, next piece reads, you don't have a 2-step application that captures partial completions. I'm not sure what she's referring to there. You dip in and out of mentorship or even refuse to invest while expecting other people to invest in your leadership. Again, this is the perpetuation of the you have to invest in order to be successful. If you stop investing, people won't take you seriously and you're not going to be successful. Covered it so many times. I don't agree with this sentiment at all. You don't collect and share excessive amounts of social proof and testimonials. I kind of brought this up in the interview that I did last week, but what I've sort of started to notice is that a lot of these testimonials aren't even outright testimonials that they've asked their clients for feedback on. They're just screenshots of like a single text message that a client sent to them when they were having a good day, and they're using it as social proof. Now, I absolutely, as a business owner, 100% recommend you send out a survey, you collect testimonials, you get people's feedback. Not only is it important to use in your marketing, but it's also a valuable tool as a business owner to be able to understand like what is good or not good about your offers. And so I think testimonials can often get a bad rep in the online space. Like people are like, oh my God, blah, 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 blah. I use testimonials in my business, I'm not gonna lie. But I would encourage you as a consumer to be wary of the things that you see, because obviously if people are getting negative feedback, they're not going to share that. I wouldn't share negative feedback publicly, but I would use it to improve my offers. And I just feel like, I don't know where I'm trying to go at this point, but these people are always just flooding their pages with testimonial after testimonial after testimonial, when a lot of the times these testimonials are just like, oh, Sarah made me feel so good. It wasn't really like she actually got me results in my business. So I don't know. Just be wary when you're reading the testimonials what the actual substance of them is, I suppose. You don't enforce your contract. So like, what's the point of having them? I don't disagree with that. If you have a contract, you should absolutely be utilizing it in your business. You don't go to therapy, so you take your emotions out on your biz. Okay. You haven't raised your prices with your experience and value. Again, this ties into the charging your worth conversation, which could be a whole video in itself. But so many of these people in this industry have such a skewed perception of what their value truly is that it's honestly a little bit unbelievable, for lack of a better word. Like in no other industry would you see prices that are quite as inflated as the coaching space. We have actual legitimate professionals like psychologists, therapists, doctors, etc., that work for maybe like $150 an hour. And then you have some girl that just decided to call herself a business coach who's been in the industry for 5 years, charging $5,000 a session. Like there's such a skewed perception of reality and value in this industry that I don't even want to touch this one. You don't have a scalable offer suite. Basically, they want you to have some kind of passive income offer where you can charge people a bunch of money and not have to deliver on it, in my opinion. You don't repurpose your content. Don't disagree with that. I use all of my TikTok and Instagram content here on YouTube Shorts. That's not a secret. If you're not repurposing your content, you're wasting your time. Shall I continue? Because there's a lot more. Bottom line, it's okay if you're guilty of these, but it's not okay if you now choose to keep doing them and also expect your business to grow. It just doesn't work like that. So let's put your CEO hat on and get to work. And then she basically just lists the 3 different ways that you can work with her. So this was just a giant sales pitch. Are we surprised?
We made one change in our content that allowed us to go from closing clients for £1,000 to £5,000 plus. And I'm about to spill the tea, so make sure you save this for later. We no longer posted just tips, hacks and tricks. Yes, this can get eyes on your profile and grow you a following, but it doesn't necessarily grow you the right following. Generally, the type of audience who's attracted to the tips and tricks and hacks and all of those kind of things are the audience that are looking for free content and who are looking for free tips, and aren't necessarily the type of people who are looking to invest in themselves and their business. Instead, we started focusing on opinion-based content, personal content, transformational content, to actually show the journey that we've taken, to show our authority and to show what it is that we do behind the scenes on our day-to-day business. This is the type of content that is going to nurture your current audience and also help convert your followers into leads and into paying clients. Check out my most recent post for some new content ideas for you this week.
Again, not necessarily bad advice from a marketing perspective. I think when it comes to trying to grow your business on social media, there is sort of this balance you have to create between these are the tips and the information that I can share with you. You know, I'm sharing value, helping you to improve your business, for example. And then I'm also sharing content about my journey and my successes to kind of prove that the model I'm sharing with you is true. That being said, I think in this specific industry, we have to be really mindful of the intention behind sharing that kind of content. And I say this because I scrolled through this particular individual's profile, and a lot of their content is very much the stereotypical clickbaity, I made $50,000 in a month and now you can too type of content. And I just want to say it a little bit louder for the people in the back, but if the majority of the marketing content that you're using solely focuses around how much money you've made in your business, that's usually a pretty big red flag. So if you're considering hiring a mentor strictly because they're sharing how they made $10,000, $50,000, $100,000 last week, last month, last year, I would just urge you to use a critical eye and really think about whether or not the way that they made that money was, first of all, ethical, and whether or not it's actually realistic for you to be able to duplicate that in your business. Maybe that's just my broke hater mindset talking, but I think I'm probably right here. Okay, so I have to turn the sound off on this next one because they have copyrighted music, but I'm just going to read it out loud. It says, instead of someday, choose to declare, I am creating a way. And so here's the caption. Have you ever wondered how I'm able to travel the world with my husband with soulful experiences, living a life of abundance? First of all, remember that it's not all sunshine and rainbows. I haven't made it. I have an amazing team, and sometimes things don't get done exactly how I envision them. Usually a communication challenge on my part. And sometimes I freak out a little when my bank balance drops below $10,000. Girl, you do not want to see my bank account. But looking back, I see that 3 decisions really shifted my trajectory. Deciding I'm worth it. I chose to see myself living this life inside of my mind long before I ever saw it on the outside. First, ask yourself, have I given myself permission to receive and have all of the things that I desire? Okay, so visualization, not something I'm necessarily against. 2, celebrating others who are experiencing what I am creating rather than being jealous or envious. Society teaches us to be competitive, compare ourselves to others, and believe there's a limited supply. If she gets it, then there won't be enough left for me. If you want to receive abundance in your life and bank accounts, you must believe we live in a universe of abundance. There's more than enough to go around. Here's your check-in question. Am I celebrating others' beauty, successes, romantic relationships, and pregnancies, or am I secretly wishing I had it instead of them? Okay, so here's actually a bit of a story because I had this realization the other day. I was scrolling through Instagram and I was finding myself getting like really triggered by different people in a similar industry to me, like in the online space, business, etc., that were getting all these really cool opportunities. And I was finding myself getting really upset that like I haven't been offered the same opportunities essentially. And so it wasn't coming from like a place or malice where I was like, oh my God, screw this person. Why do they get cool things and I don't? But I was really becoming triggered. So what did I do? I muted the people. I unfollowed a few because my mental health is more important than having to like celebrate someone else's successes. Now, after this incident where like I literally was becoming so obsessive, I couldn't stop thinking about like how jealous I was of these people and their success. I kind of had this realization because if you've watched any of my content here on my channel where I talk transparently about, you know, how much money I make on YouTube, what my journey as a creator has been like, over on TikTok, I always talk about, you know, how much I charge for brand deals, that kind of thing. And the phrase that I always use is like, how much money's in my bank account isn't going to impact how much money is in your bank account. And so I had this realization the other day where I was like, just because these people are being offered these cool opportunities doesn't mean there's never going to be cool opportunities for me as well. And that kind of like flipped a switch in my brain where I was like, okay, I don't need to be obsessing about what everyone else is doing. I can still find success on my own terms. And so I don't necessarily disagree with what she's saying here, but of course, I'm not into like the woo-woo manifestation piece where it's like, I have to celebrate everyone's abundance in order to welcome my own. I just think there's a time and place to admire what other people are doing, but then there's also an opportunity for you to be like, I don't need to look at that. I'm just going to focus on doing me and hope that things work out for me in the end. I don't know if that made sense, but that's where I'm at. Number 3, instead of saying someday, I continuously decide I'm creating a way. I was talking with my husband yesterday about acquiring our next exotic property. Even though it doesn't make sense on paper, according to how 90 to 95% of the world sees things, we're the type of people that decide what we want and then play within the possibilities, while being committed and resourceful to create the outcome and experience we desire. I think a perspective like this often undermines the level of privilege that's usually at play, because I could sit here and I could imagine myself owning 20 properties in Canada's most expensive city, but just because I imagine it and then I start to, you know, work towards making it happen, doesn't necessarily mean that I'm ever going to have the means to be able to actually fulfill that dream. And so there is a huge difference between, you know, setting goals and working towards those goals, working really hard, making sacrifices to make those things happen, versus understanding what is legitimately possible within the constraints of your reality. And I think oversimplifying it like this really just negates a lot of the personal struggles that so many people face when it comes to like creating their dream life. Check in when you think about what you desire. Have I decided to create my results with resourcefulness, faith, and devotion, or am I waiting for it to fall in my lap someday? Let me know what decisions you're making and make the biggest difference for you. So again, I'll just repeat myself. I think the principle of the message is not necessarily incorrect. However, I really think that presenting it in this way oversimplifies a lot of the complexities that so many people face in their actual reality? And I'd love to hear your perspective on this in the comments below. Okay, this is the last video. Again, I have to turn off the sound because it's copyrighted music, but basically the screen just says, my first online course was a $150,000 launch 3 years ago. Also, this person is filming this while driving with a kid in the backseat, which to me is like a big red flag. Anyway, here's the caption. This is your sign to create a course. This result still blows my mind. I remember creating my first course for my network marketing business. It was not meant to be sold. Actually, I was creating it just for my team, but then the DMs started flooding in. Can I pay you to have access to it, please? So I opened a Stripe account and created a $97 link and allowed everyone to come into my world. What happened next blew my mind. $150,000 in a week. So here's your sign if you are sitting back, wondering if creating an online business is for you. I teach women how to do this with ease. Comment below, I'm ready, if you want the link to my business training membership. Would you believe it? We have someone who I guess used to be in network marketing, probably had mediocre success, decided to build a course to teach other people how to be successful in network marketing, and then made a bunch of money selling that course. Now, here's the thing about any of the stories that are like this out there that I think people tend to forget, and that is the necessity of having an engaged audience when it comes to selling an offer like this. So let's just pretend that tomorrow I decide to put together a course teaching people how to start a YouTube channel. Now, I have a relatively small audience here on YouTube. Not all of my audience really cares about starting a YouTube channel. So even if I made the best course on how to start a YouTube channel and I had the best video and the best audio quality production, and I put together this big course with all of this great information, and I sold it for $97 like this person said, chances are I wouldn't make $150,000 in a week. Why? Because I don't have the audience that's going to convert at a high enough rate in order for me to make that money. So I really think that when people try to sell you on this idea that you could just make an online course and make a ton of money, they kind of leave out the piece that you actually need an engaged audience in order to be able to sell that online course. And the same goes for any kind of like digital products or passive income that a lot of these people will talk about online. They kind of leave out the piece that there's a lot of work that goes into building an audience that will actually buy those digital products from you. And it's not as simple as just building it and they will come. But I don't think that's a surprise to anyone. All right, friends, that's going to be it for today's video. If you enjoyed it, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already. If you have scam stories you want me to react to here on my channel, my Google form is linked down below. Or if you have specific content you want me to react to, just put it into your own Google Drive and then share it with my email address listed down below as well. I want you to take care, comb your hair, and I will leave you with this video right here next. Bye!